and thank you for all of you. I know it's a busy day, for taking the time to come and hear about a very important relationship, and that, of course, is with our federal government and the government of Guam and the people of Guam. I am privileged to be able to introduce our keynote speaker. For those of you who are unaware, the Department of Interior has vast oversight. It's a huge agency with a lot of responsibility across the nation, including, of course, in our U.S. territories. We have over 70,000 employees. The Secretary is responsible for 20% of our nation's public lands, which includes our parks, refuges, and other public lands, including the Bureau of Land Management. Apart from her primary responsibility of stewarding our land and natural resources, she also is responsible for promoting conventional and renewable energy on our public lands and waters. She enforces our trust responsibilities with Native peoples, of course, with American Indians, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians. She is clearly cognizant of the fact that we have Native peoples in the U.S. territories, including, of course, our Chamorro population of the Mariana Islands, including Guam. The Department of the Interior, of course, is responsible for all the U.S. territories and the federal assistance or compact agreement, economic provisions of the compacts of the Free Associated States. And as many of you know, if you look at the history of all of the Secretaries of the Interior in modern time, because of the importance of working with all of the states and territories, more often than not, they are actually coming from being a U.S. Senator or a governor of a respective state, in particular the Western states. She has come from the private sector, which makes her understanding of how to steward natural resources and economic development a little more acute than probably compared to what has happened historically. In the 166 years of our existence, she is only the second woman to be the Secretary of the Interior, and I'm very proud of that. Prior to coming to the Department of the Interior, Secretary Jewell was President and CEO of Recreation Equipment Inc., REI, which Jay had mentioned. Where you work is very important, and it should be noteworthy that it was consistently ranked by Fortune magazine as one of the 100 best companies to work for in the United States. During her tenure, she tripled revenues in business to $2 billion per annum. Prior to REI, she spent 19 years as a commercial banker, first working as an energy and natural resources expert, and later working with a diverse array of businesses. She started her career with Mobil Oil Corporation as a petroleum engineer in the oil and gas fields of Oklahoma, and later with exploration and production office in Colorado, where she learned a lot about our nation's oil and gas resources. When President Obama nominated her, he said that she knows that there is no contradiction between being good stewards of the land and our economic progress. That, in fact, those two things need to go hand in hand. Nowhere is that principle valued more than in small island economies like Guam and the other territories with limited land mass. I know I could not do my job if I did not have a leader who is a good listener, accessible, fearless, understanding the needs of underserved communities, and understanding the complexities of economic development and natural resources management. Secretary Jewell is that type of leader, and I am honored to serve with her. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce Secretary Secretary Jewell, the 51st Secretary of the U.S. Department of the Interior. Thank you, Esther. No, that was great. That was better than the boom, sorry. Well, it is a great pleasure to be back in Guam. Last time I was here was the year of your super typhoon. I didn't come for that. My brother lived here for a decade, and one niece and one nephew were born right here in a place I've been visiting over And Jeff, thank you to the Guam Chamber for hosting this event today and bringing out so many business people. And I understand we also have the Guam Women's Chamber, wishing to make sure that there are opportunities for women in business, and that's wonderful. And also Guam Contractors Association, which I hope will be extremely busy with the military buildup that's happening in the area. Those Guam contractors. Governor Gao has been a true champion for Guam. We've met on a number of occasions. He's a regular at the Western Governors Association. I always tease him that he's got to sit through interminable discussions about the greater sage grouse and the protection of the sagebrush ecosystem in the dry American West, and he just powers on through and is a constant source of inspiration and support for the issues that you care about most. So thank you for hosting my visit, for being a leader of this entire region of the Pacific on climate change, which is going to impact this area in many ways more than anywhere else, and serving the whole nation with your work on the White House Climate Change Task Force. It's been very, very helpful. And to Congressman Bordallo, you also a champion for this region, a steady drumbeat of issues that Guam and the people of Guam care so much about. And it's difficult being in Congress with limited power without any senators. She steadily introduces legislation and continues to keep issues on the radar. And one of the key things, no matter whether you're representing a territory or a state, is persistence. And Congressman Bordallo has persistence. You all know Esther Kia'Aina. She's a force of nature. She upholds the issues that you care deeply about in my office on a regular basis. She understands them deeply, having worked on Capitol Hill, having worked in Hawaii, which shares some of the same issues, although not to the same degree on compact impact and otherwise. And she feels the sense of urgency that we all have in these political jobs, which is time's running out and we want to get stuff done. And Esther is an extraordinarily capable public servant and tireless advocate, and also a really trusted counselor to me. She will tell me when I need to be told something. She'll make sure I don't say something really stupid. At least she tries to do that. Not always possible, because she pointed out that the scope of this job is pretty large, and there's a lot of things to keep track. Esther keeps me on track. So one thing that this trip has in common with my last trip to Guam is that I'm trying to pack an awful lot of stuff into a short period of time. People come to Guam, they should be able to relax and enjoy the wonderful beaches. And last time I was here, I dove the Blue Hole and a wreck dive, and I played 9 holes of golf, and I tried to find a place to go hiking with my dad, which we did down to the beach, and then I got a plane, and I went to my brother's wedding, which was beautiful. The wedding didn't work, the marriage didn't work out, but the wedding was fun. I think we have some wonderful nieces and nephews as a result. I think they were married right here in this hotel. But it was nothing to say that the Sheraton's not a great place to get married for a long time. But in that visit, as in this visit, I've been struck by the natural beauty of Guam, the natural resources you have, which of course other parts of the interior have a role in shepherding and stewarding, whether it's the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and its work in the Wildlife Refuge, U.S. Geological Survey, which is working so hard on invasive species like the brown tree snake, and Esther is going to make sure they are introduced to the coconut rhinoceros beetle and the little fire ant, that I learned a little bit more about today, and of course the National Park Service with the War on the Pacific National Historic Park
and I was just there, Congressman Z.Bordallo, earlier today, and got a chance to really sense the challenge that this region faced as a result of war and the occupation and the impact on so many of the families and the brothers and sisters here in Guam that continue to feel that pain. And it's a very nice and appropriate commemoration, but also a history that we have, a shared history that we cannot forget. So, I'll also say that this visit and my last visit reflected greatly on the hospitality of the people here. Not only are you hospitable, but you got a heck of a soccer team too. Yeah. In India? And today's Monday, which means that the U.S. women's soccer team will be playing. They won! They won! So I'm grateful for the opportunity to return. Great productive discussion with the governor this morning, as he referenced. I had a lovely visit to the War on the Pacific Memorial, but more importantly, I had a great time. I was a little dirtier about 45 minutes ago, an hour ago, because I was picking up debris from the beach, the War on the Pacific beach site, with a group of kids who were junior rangers and Youth Conservation Corps members who are removing debris because it's a breeding ground for the larvae of the coconut rhinoceros beetle. So getting young people like that involved in taking ownership of some of these challenges, not expecting somebody else to do it, but being there doing it themselves was a great way to spend an hour or so today. And those young people are going to be teaching all of you about what to do about the coconut rhinoceros beetle. And boy, it's a nasty looking little beast. I also will be touring the Guam Memorial Hospital, meeting with our colleagues in the Department of Defense to talk about the issues there, and spending as much time with the lovely people of Guam before I head back to Washington on the same flight as the Congresswoman tomorrow. So this is the first U.S. territory that I'm visiting in my role as Secretary of the Interior. And it's fitting because it is really one of our nation's, not our nation's most important and most dynamic territory. The strategic location in the Pacific, the rich history, the importance of supporting this region to the health of the United States overall. So it is great to be here. Our mainland United States, the territory of Guam, have enjoyed deep ties for over 100 years. The intertwined history was certainly clear in this morning's visit to the memorial, as many Chamorros suffered and died during Japanese occupation. And many U.S. servicemen also gave their lives for the liberation of Guam, and their bravery will not be forgotten. The memorial is also a testament to the resilience of the people of Guam. You've remained loyal to the United States over the years. You've fostered a vibrant island with a strong government that also honors a strong culture. And you've established yourself as a leader throughout the region, and that's very evident. Not only transportation links, but also communication, education, and economic opportunities in Micronesia. I'm talking right into it, it's cutting in and out. I don't know what to do, but hey, guys, if you have any solutions, let me know. The other thing I just want to extend my appreciation for are the thousands of men and women from Guam who continue to serve in our nation's armed forces in very significant numbers. Your patriotism, loyalty, and your strength are part of the American family, and we thank you for that. Veterans and active duty, can you just raise your hands here? Let's give them a round of applause. As was said by the governor and the congresswoman, as President Obama is looking at a pivot to Asia and strengthening our strategic engagement in the Asia-Pacific region, Guam is a critical hub of that rebalancing effort. So we're going to continue to look to you, the people of Guam, to provide regional leadership and help Micronesia broadly prosper in the 21st century. We're proud to be your partner. We know that we need each other in this effort. And a strong Guam will mean a strong United States. That means that your interests need to be represented at the highest levels of the U.S. government. I'm there, Esther's there, Congresswoman Bordallo's there, and Jay's there when he's not partying, right? Jay's there partying or not, yeah. Doing a good job representing the governor. We want to make sure that you receive fair treatment in funding and policy considerations. That things like unfunded mandates that I talked about with the governor are brought to the attention of all of us that are in regulatory roles, so we think about those impacts. So I want to spend just a few minutes talking about a few of the highest priorities. First, I want to talk about the military buildup, very much underway. You have already seen hundreds of millions of dollars in new construction and infrastructure improvements, like the Marine Corps Highway improvement that I gather is a little different than when I visited the last time, perhaps. There's no doubt that this military buildup will bring great opportunities to Guam, expected to generate, you know the numbers better than I am sure, $8.7 billion over 10 years in economic contributions. And as Chamber of Commerce and the business community of Guam, we will work with you to make sure that your businesses thrive. We know that there will be thousands of jobs created as a result in construction, transportation, and the retail sectors, and it will be up to you and us working together to make sure that the people of Guam are qualified to take many of those jobs. So you've got a major role here in the civilian community in building Guam's as it relates to defense and that strategic importance in Asia. I will also say that we need to take care of the natural world as well. That the natural resources and the cultural resources of this island need to be understood, avoided if there are conflicts, or mitigated at a minimum. You've got to make sure that there's long-term sustainable growth, and that the development of the military is not at the expense of the things that you've held so dear for so many years. So we will be working to do that as well, on both civilian infrastructure and economic development assistance. So let me do the main focus of the Chamber, and that would be economic development. I'll say that President Obama is committed to helping Guam and other island leaders build stronger and more resilient communities. Because we've got to make sure that the community's most important needs are met with strong health and education and other important services. And I know those are strained. It's also, Governor, in reading your strategic plan, a very major area of focus of yours, and I congratulate you on that. So to that end, the economic and technical support for the island's development has been consistently strong over the years. All told, the federal government spends more than $2 billion annually in Guam. The Office of Insular Affairs alone, Esther's shop, with an interior, spent $146 million in 2014. So where did the money go? It helped places like Guam Memorial Hospital that I'll be visiting, the Guam Police Department, the Paseo Baseball Stadium, and the T-John facilities into a new high school. Recently, Insular Affairs provided $600,000 to the Guam Power Authority to complete the wind turbine power pilot project, and that's a 275 kilowatt wind turbine that will help power the island with renewable energy. Island communities like Guam that are dependent on imported fossil fuels are ideal locations, and the Governor and I and the Congresswoman and I have spoken of this before. As the Department of Energy works on renewable projects, as we in the Department of Interior are permitting offshore wind projects, primarily on the east coast of the United States, but some experimentation in the Pacific, I am not forgetting the needs of communities like Guam, states like Hawaii, who are so dependent on imported fuels that are both expensive and dirty for the environment. So there are great opportunities there as well. And today I'm pleased to announce that the Office of Insular Affairs is providing a $68,000 grant for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Guam. Because Big Brothers, yeah, you can clap for that. Big Brothers, Big Sisters is going to work with 3 other nonprofits to improve capacity building and leadership training opportunities for organizations that want to strengthen family units. That strength of family is so important to the health of any of our communities, and that's an area of need. That will include outdoor activities for at-risk youth like hiking and community gardening, maybe cleaning up old palm fronds so that those beetles don't have good habitat. But other organizations like the Victim Advocates Reaching Out, Micronesian Faith Resources and Training Center, and the Guam Moms Helping Moms and Families are also strengthening that family unit that can help the cohesion of the fabric of this community. So we want to continue to work to make sure you have the resources you need to build strong communities, and that's something Esther is deeply engaged in. And one of the most difficult topics is compact impact. And while there are significant opportunities for Guam in defense, in tourism, and other economic development areas, we know there are areas where support is critically needed. We know that Guam has many unmet obligations under the compact agreements with the freely associated states and Micronesia. It's got real impact on Guam's operations, especially on health, on education, on housing, and on correctional facilities. The U.S. government provides Guam about $17 million a year for compact impact aid in mandatory funding, but that's far below what Guam is incurring as a result of migration under the compact, and that's not likely to get better in a time of a changing climate and in a time of economic refugees as well. So we need to work together on efforts to increase that mandatory funding stream. There's legislation proposed by Hawaii Congressman Takai and Congresswoman Bordallo, but that's going to be challenging to get across the finish line given the federal budgetary constraints, which require offsets for all budgetary increases. And it's really tough back in Washington, D.C. right now on the budget side. Very, very frustrating, I think, for everyone involved. So a solution is not easy. There's no easy way to get it done. And as much as we advocate, and Congressman Bordallo advocates, and Governor Calvo advocates, it is not likely to get done in the congressional environment that we find ourselves in. So we need to work on really a comprehensive federal approach, and that's what we're committed to doing, to develop both short-term and long-term strategies. In February, I made compact impact aid a priority at the meeting of the Interagency Group on Insular Affairs in D.C. And as a follow-up, Assistant Secretary Kia'Aina is working with the White House to establish a federal interagency working group on compact impact aid, and that will be the Departments of Health and Human Services, Education, Homeland Security, Housing and Urban Development, Labor, and Defense, all working together. You know, in our work in the insular areas, just as we have in Interior's work with the Indian tribes, what is most important is just keeping these issues on the radar. And all the jobs of the cabinet secretaries are big and complex and require prioritization. But unless we have a steady voice, which we have with Esther Kia'Aina, and we will have with this interagency group, it's too easy for it to drop off the radar, and it's too easy for things to occur that have an unintended consequence on places like Guam, and that's exactly what Esther's working to address. I'm a believer that alternative and innovative ways of addressing compact impact should be explored by the executive branch as well as with Congress. One way we're doing that is to establish one-stop centers in Hawaii and Guam. So what's that all about? It's hard to navigate your way through the federal government. It's hard to figure out where to go and what services might be available. So these centers are designed to coordinate and share governmental and non-governmental job training, education, and health awareness opportunities for the citizens of the freely associated states. We're going to open up our first one in Hawaii later this summer. I want to announce today, under Esther's leadership and guidance, that we're pleased we're going to open a center in Guam before the end of this year, and we've got an initial $250,000 grant to do so. So we hope to make it easier to navigate our complicated bureaucracy. But another way is by ensuring that the citizens of the freely associated states are eligible for federal assistance, so that Guam doesn't shoulder the costs alone. For example, in May, Typhoon Dolphin devastated many parts of this island community, displaced 300 individuals from the freely associated states, and when FEMA reviewed their policies and programs, they determined that the FAS citizens were not eligible for individual assistance, leaving Guam to bear the costs. The Office of Insular Affairs, Esther Kia'Aina, provided $250,000 to assist the governor in purchasing tents and generators and first aid kits and food. That's really FEMA's job, but we need to continue conversations through this federal interagency process to identify these unintended consequences so that we can address the issues in both the executive branch and the legislative branch. Because I know when they did the Welfare Reform Act of 1996, that's not what was intended. So let me shift to a funner topic, and that is tourism. This is an amazing place to come visit. And it's a mainstay of Guam's economy, and it's easy to see why. Incredible beaches. I haven't seen any amazing sunsets yet, other than flying between the cloud lighters on the way in. That was pretty cool. But you've seen steady growth in your tourism. People enjoy the culture, the spirit of hospitality, great outdoor activities, and you're pretty darn close to a whole bunch of people. So how do we take advantage of that? I know that the governor is on this. All of you in the room are on this, because many of you are in this business. And you have seen great growth. Over 1.3 million visitors in 2014 from many different Asian countries who contributed $1.5 billion to your economy. Well, we want to help support that. And when I was in China yesterday and a few days prior, one of the reasons I was there was to promote travel and tourism to UN destinations, including Guam. NPS.gov, the website, which has the War in the Pacific among other sites, was excluded from internet access in China. That is now open as of a few weeks ago. So people can at least go to the website and browse and get this on their radar. The embassy is working hard on accelerating its program for visas. I know that visa waiver program is something that the governor and congresswomen have been championing. I know that when we went to a 10-year program as opposed to 1 year, that's a huge step in the right direction. I also know that the embassies are terribly backlogged and haven't had the resources they need to do the job necessary for processing visas, so that you end up with situations like charter flights being canceled. So we will work with the State Department, and my colleague on the cabinet, Penny Pritzker, who is the Secretary of Commerce, has convened on an ongoing basis a high-level cabinet agency to focus on travel and tourism. We had a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and I would say 80% of the discussion was on visas and accelerating the visa process. So whether or not we get to a point where we will have visa waivers from countries like China and Vietnam, and I know that is the governor's vision. National security interests are very important. I don't control those kinds of decisions, but we can, I think, push on the State Department and try and look at creative ways to get the kinds of resources they need to do the job, so that you will be able to have ready access to tourists from that little country of 1.3 billion people that loves opportunities to travel to the United States. And we expect to see dramatic increases in Chinese tourism visits to the United States, and I think with some of the economic activity going on in Vietnam and the trade agreements that are in the process of negotiations, that also will open up new markets for tourism to Guam and perhaps other things as well. So we will continue to advocate for your needs there. Recognize it may not go as far as you'd like, Governor, but the key is predictability and speed, and I think getting past the concerns about visas to where Chinese citizens know that this is a great place to come, and they will come not only for one visit, but hopefully for multiple visits. And the last thing I want to touch on is something that both the governor and the congresswoman mentioned, and Esther has been a true champion of, and that is climate change. You are really in the epicenter of climate change. You are likely to see refugees from places like the Marshall Islands that have a mean elevation above sea level of 6 feet. It doesn't take much of a storm to inundate that island, and while we would like to turn back the clock on the carbon emissions that have caused this, it's going to be very difficult to do so with the kind of sea level rise expansion of the oceans that is happening as a result. So your voices have helped raise international awareness, and I want to again commend Governor Calvo for his leadership. It's why the President's Climate Action Plan takes strong action at home and abroad to cut carbon pollution. And it's, I was in Australia, actually, at the World Parks Conference at the time. President Obama and President Xi announced the joint announcement on both countries tackling climate change, and both have continued to make good progress. So we have to do that, but we know that on the ground you're feeling the impacts. And in fact, we were talking earlier about the weirdness of the weather here. You know, the rainy season should just be starting, but you've already had multiple typhoons. I was saying to the governor that my home community of Seattle is now behaving more like San Diego. No snowpack, very nice, lovely weather, not good for my property values, but it's not what Seattle's supposed to be like. It's supposed to be a little rainier, a little bit colder. So, Assistant Secretary has hosted this Insular Affairs Climate Change Stakeholder meeting right here in Guam just a month and a half ago, I think, or a month ago. And it's a complex issue, and it's easy to run away from, or it's easy to say, I'm in this job a short period of time, I'll just turn my back on it. That's not what these leaders are doing. They're facing it head on, and they're saying we need the support and the help and the wisdom of the private sector. Public and private partners need to work together to work on building resilience in the face of climate change, adaptation as these changes are coming, particularly with regard to construction, smart construction, and also renewable energy development as the governor's championing. So there's no doubt there's a lot of work ahead when it comes to addressing the unique and the complex needs of Guam and the people. We want to make sure that the military buildup works for your island. We want to make sure that we provide critical technical and economic assistance that unlocks the potential of your people. We want to find solutions to alleviate the impacts of the compact agreements with the Freely Associated States. We want to work with you on strengthening your tourism sector, adapting to the challenges of a changing climate, and a lot of other issues that I hear regularly from your elected officials, as well as my own Esther. So we need to work together, and that's what we're here for today, to find creative solutions, to listen to many of you in the room, and I just want to reassure you that we appreciate your work. We want to be your partners to strengthen and improve the quality of life for the people of Guam, and to recognize your importance to the United States of America, and how proud we are to have you as our key territory in the Pacific. You've been part of the family for over 115 years. That important shared history, that respect and appreciation for your patriotism, strength, and resilience will carry us into the future. So thank you for your hospitality. See you smile.